Writer N.K. Jemisin was young the first time she read a book by Octavia Butler. Nothing had prepared her for it. Butler wrote science fiction, creative writing about events set in a future time. The book Jemisin read was called Dawn. It is the story of a black woman who awakens 250 years after a nuclear disaster. I remember just kind of being stunned that a black woman existed in the future, because science fiction had not done that before, says Jemisin. Her book, The City We Become, is selling very well. Octavia Butler was a revolutionary voice in her lifetime. She is even more popular since her death 14 years ago. Her former literary agent and the manager of her work, Mary Lee Heifetz, said Butler's novels sell more than 100,000 copies each year. Toshi Regan has made Butler's novel, Parable of the Sower, into an opera. Actors Viola Davis and Ava DuVernay are among those working on a new television show based on her work. Grand Central Publishing is putting out all of her novels again. She has been included in the Library of America. Now a generation of young writers say she has been a large influence on them, including Jemisin. Writer Nnedi Okorafor is now writing a film based on the Butler novel Wild Seed. It will be made by the film company owned by Davis and her husband, Julius Tenon. In an interview with the Associated Press, Davis said she began reading Butler about 30 years ago. I felt included in the narrative in a way I had never felt reading anything before, said Davis, who has a deal with Amazon Studios. There is something about seeing yourself that opens up your world. Elise Eve Weinbaum is a professor of English at the University of Washington. She said Butler broke in the science fiction world that had been almost completely dominated by white men and white readers. She is now considered a visionary writer because her work deals with the things that concern us today. From climate change to politics. In her 1998 novel, Parable of the Talents, she writes about a president in the year 2032. Religious tolerance does not suit him, Butler wrote. There was never such a time in this country. But these days, when more than half the people in the country can't read at all, history is just one more unknown to them. She seems to have seen the real future coming in a way few other writers did, said Jerry Caravan. He is an associate professor at Marquette University. Caravan is among those preparing Butler's work for the Library of America. It's not hard to read the books and think, how did she know? Born in Pasadena, California, Butler was black, poor, and nearly 2 meters tall. I believed I was ugly and stupid and socially hopeless, she once explained. Lonely, she began reading and writing about her feelings of isolation. This led to her reading and writing science fiction and other stories. Her first novel, Pattern Master, came out in 1976. Some remember that the first book cover for her novel Dawn showed a white woman in order to appeal to buyers. Through the 1980s and 90s, her readership and fame grew. She became the first science fiction writer to receive a MacArthur Genius Grant, an award given to top artists and scientists. Okorafor was among her many admirers. She was really kind and she was funny. I just wish she were here now to see how much more she is being honored.